Hello, I'm PJ Bishop. Welcome to my channel and the ongoing series with the Oakland A's. September is here. Not quite the month of August we were hoping for. Currently sitting at 61 and 70, 11 and a half games out of the division. Virtually all but eliminated from there. And 8 games back from a wild card spot. But we're a middle of the pack team, as you can see here. We're not the worst team, but we're not really much of a contender. We're actually the last team that's not a contender. Because from Houston and above, they're all within 2 games of the wild card, and we start the group of teams that have no chance, 8 games out or worse. But good news, unless I lose pretty much every game from here on out, I shouldn't lose. I shouldn't lose 100 games, which will be a step in the right direction, I think. Where has that gone? Actually, we didn't lose 100 games last year. We slightly improved. But this will be a much bigger jump, as you can see, from 38-38. This will be a 46% if we can finish strong and not get any worse than we did during August. But I'm not necessarily. I'm already looking forward to next year when it comes to development. Best news is we did lock up shortstop Jacob Wilson till 2037 on an 11-year, $136 million deal. Considering how good he is, I thought it was probably the easiest decision to make. Even if I set him as a second baseman, he would have been 7. Yeah, considering how good he is, I thought it was one of the easiest decisions to make. He's still batting over 300, OPS of 853, still on pace to steal 95 bases, which is a ton, double-digit home runs. I mean, he doesn't have the power. I mean, that could maybe possibly develop, but I doubt it. But he's an excellent hitter. He's one of the best, probably, hitters on the top of our lineup. So his value is there, and he's a good defender. Obviously, if he played his natural position of second base, he would be a whole lot better. But he's still an above-average defender at shortstop, and that's why we have him there. So locking him up, as you can see here, it's a pretty equal deal. Next year is still fairly cheap at $1.8 million. And I think the following year that's the most expensive at $14.5. After that, it's all roughly the same, $13.5, $13.2. So we pay a little extra up front, but eventually we save money on him because his arbitration deals, I think, bumped up to $16 million and $19 million. So we're already saving on the back end, and there's no way we're going to sign somebody of his caliber for $13.2 million for free agency. So locking him up for a really what I consider a team-friendly contract for one of our best players is probably one of the smartest decisions we could do. Then August 16th, left-handed pitcher Blake Walston was placed on the 60-day IL. He will miss the rest of the season. He could have came back, but I figured by then he'd probably spend a week of rehab if the season was still going on for AAA. So there's no point in bringing him back. I just went ahead and shut him down for the rest of the year. Placed him on the 60-day IL. So we ended up recalling right-handed pitcher Grant Holman was recalled from AAA Las Vegas. And then not a whole lot happened. September 1st, catcher Shea Langoliers was activated off the IL. And left-handed pitcher Braden Quinn was recalled from AA Midland. I had him down at AA to make sure he was getting all the playing time he could get. If you look at the pitching, like I told you, JP Sears, look at that. But anyway, it's all fairly standard stuff. A lot of average, I guess, Braxton Ashcraft, but that's mainly through his bullpen ERA, where he was at 2-something when he started. So even he jumped down a bit from his really good bullpen ERA, which I kind of expected from. It's hard to keep your bullpen ERA similar to as a starter ERA. It's just extremely more difficult. But it's not bad looking. Chris Paddock is kind of settling in. The last 2 games have been nice. Actually, the last 3 games. This one here, he was injured. He got injured in this game, and then he was injured in that, so we kind of kept him to a limited role. I didn't want to get him re-hurt. And the last 2 games, he came back really strong. No earned runs given up. And really looking like a pretty decent. I mean, he's looking decent. A very respectable number. I don't know if we can afford to re-sign him. I would like to, because he looks like he can be a solid enough starter for us. It all depends on what he is commanding or requesting, and if we have the budget space to fit it. I would like to bring him back. Ryan Johnson, kind of a disappointing rookie season in my opinion. His potential has gone down, and he's really just the last game was tough. 3 homers given up, and it's just he was also hurt a little bit. That's why you see his innings down. Hasn't played well in the month of August. Again, that could be just fatigue, considering that this is probably the deepest he's gone to play. 2025. No, he's got 144 innings there, so he's played well over 100 innings. It's only the second year in a row. Yeah. So it could be the fatigue. It could be just that he's just not quite that good yet. I mean, he's still developing. But yeah, not the exciting numbers we were hoping for when I first started him at the beginning of the year. But he's still definitely part of my plans moving forward. He's an easy number. If I get, in a perfect world, he's an easy number 4 or 5 for us. Obviously 4, even at 3. Braxton Ashcraft. Oh, look at that game. Really tough outing here. That blew his ERA up, from low 3s to a 4. It tells you how good he was throughout the year. That even a 7 earned run, even back-to-back of 5 earned runs and 7 earned runs, he's still in the 3s at this moment. I would definitely. I think he can end up being a solid starter for us next year. He was doing well for Pittsburgh. He's doing well for us. I think he's a good pitcher. I think he's a nice, good, under the radar, not overly expensive guy that we can afford to keep. His pitch mix is fantastic. His ratings, I think he's going to be fine. He's just going to have that homeritis. That's the only issue is he will run into that. As you can see, 4 of his last 5 games, he's given up a home run, including a multi-home run effort against Detroit. So that is going to be his Achilles heel. Ken Waldachek, I mean, he's just steady Eddie, I would say. I mean, last year was for a slight improvement, but not by much. But that's just what he is. So I can't really expect much more than that, considering that's just ratings-wise that what he is. So he's playing pretty much around his ratings, although he is getting annoying with his arbitration because you hate to keep paying guys more and more for average work. But at this point, he deserves it as he keeps playing. And J.P. Sears, I knew he'd come down to earth eventually. I mean, he went from 3.69 to 4.71, as he always does. He's been 4.5, 4.3, and the year before he was 4-something. So when you're consistently 4-something every year and you're hovering around the 3s, I knew he'd crash to earth, and he did. Including this 1-out, wonderful outing. I mean, back-to-back terrible. Actually, really 3 in a row terrible starts. 4 in a row if you count those 5 earned runs here. So just terrible start finish to the month of August. But I'll probably end up bringing him back because he's normally a steady guy. I wish he was steady, not like what he was today or this past month. Bullpen I think bullpen looks solid heading into next year. We got a lot of guys that are really looking forward to bringing back. Obviously, Devin Williams. We have him, Tanner Scott. I know we pay him a little more, but he looks like he's settled in and is playing much better as of late. There's just so many guys down here that I think next year, even though it's a little more expensive than I normally would like to spend, but as we get better as a whole, we need some guys that are a little bit better at the high end, like Devin Williams. Because I would like to fight for a playoff spot. I think we can be good enough next year. And that's the pitching. Let's take a look at the lineups. So I still try to start the best guys I possibly could. I think everyone has a chance except for Clark Elliott. He's mainly here because he's a good center fielder, less because of his offensive ratings. Max Muncy, by the way, is now projected to be an 80 overall, which is pretty impressive. I think everything looks good. His power is starting to come up. I can't wait till next year. I can't wait till if he can fully develop and show me that he is, in fact, an 80 overall, he's another guy I would love to give a long-term contract and sign up and eat up his and get a good team-friendly deal. But anyway, I did go the route. As you can see here, Max Muncy is playing left field. I'm trying to get his other positions up to at least, since we're out of the playoffs at this point, I don't really care too much. I'd like to get his other positions also up, because as we keep bringing in more high-end prospects, I would like to be able to shuffle these guys around so they're always playing. I got Jacob Wilson playing third base because that's something he can develop and play well. So the priority right now is trying to get guys, obviously still play the top guys that we have, but get them to play different positions. Brett Harris is not a top guy, but getting his second base up to at least average is okay. It's not a major priority. But if he could slightly get his turn double play raised just a little bit, then that's another position for him. Matt McClain, I slid him over the shortstop. Christian Robinson, center field. None of this is extraordinary. What do we have over here? Anything? Oh, Shea Langoliers. We can see if he can play some right field for us, because he's in jeopardy of possibly not coming. Oh, he's done pretty well, I think, but he's in jeopardy of not coming back. Like, he might be someone I'm willing to trade away, because apparently, like I said, we have Carlos Franco is not doing bad. I know his overall is low, but he hasn't done bad. I mean, he bats over 300, so he's good against the lefties. And then I bring up the other kid, Juan, from AAA, who's a really good defender. I'd say we have a solid catchers there at a minimum price, and we don't have to worry about paying Shea too much. Unless he could develop to be a good right fielder, then he's got some value there. But he could easily be some trade bait. That's what I'm thinking right now. That's just thinking out loud here. Zach Geloff, trying to get him a first base position going. He's kind of struggled this year. This has been his worst year since we called him up. I don't intend on trading him because he's good. He's still solid enough all around that it doesn't make sense to trade him, and he's still cheap. So it really makes no sense to trade him. And then that's pretty much it as far as like where I move guys around for position-wise to get them, again, ready for next year. As you can see here, Jacob Wilson, still our best player, pretty much OPS of 853, batting over 300. He's been the absolute best thing that has happened to my organization since we took over. And I'm glad we got him signed until 35, so we got a ton of years to try to get him into the playoffs and get a championship with this young man here. And like I said, Carlos Franco, look at that. I know mostly against lefties, but still pretty impressive. And as long as he keeps hitting, he's going to stay in the lineup. Carson Kelly, probably his best year as of yet. And unfortunately, I don't know if I'm going to re-sign him. He's going to be 33 next year. He's not going to get any better offensively. He's not going to get any better defensively. I just don't think it makes sense to re-sign him when we have such young guys available. I know Shea is still available, obviously, as a catcher. But with Juan and Carlos kind of stepping up and showing that they can, in fact, play and are good defenders, it just doesn't make sense. Unless Carson could come back on a really cheap deal, chances are he is gone. Even though he's hit 12 home runs this year, which is the most he's hit in a while. I mean, he's just not a home run guy. When's the last time I'm trying to see his home runs here? He had 18 when he was 24. But that was in 85 starts. He's only got 67 starts right now, and he's already got 12. So less starts, 6 home runs. So yeah, it's this as far as power output. I don't know where it's come from, but it's definitely increased. I don't know if the contract year means something to the game. I know it does more so in real life. Contract years do seem to matter if you pay attention to the guys close enough. And of course, JJ Bleday still solid, although he's kind of left out of the lefty lineup as he's not doing so well versus them. But still a really good player. He's got his 20 home runs. He's got 33 stolen bases, so he's got at least he's in the 20-30 club. Could finish in the 20-40 club. I think, but I don't know if he'll play enough games toward the back end of the season. Um, he's starting to decline. His power is starting to decline. I think even though he's only 28, it does seem like he's declining fairly rapidly. Because I already noticed the power decline, and he's a good player, but he's someone that if I can get rid of for prospects or another position that I really need, I don't mind because we're starting to develop some good depth as new guys as I keep on calling up new guys. Tyler Soderstrom, very happy season. I keep expecting better from him, but he's doing well. He does tend to hit some cold streaks. I think that's because the avoid K is pretty low. It's below average. The I is below average, so he does run into some cold streaks where he's just not doing much. But he's already got 23 home runs, still on pace for 28. I don't know if he'll reach that because I don't think I have him starting versus. Yeah, I don't have him versus lefty. So, well, he's mostly versus righties, so he has to get hot versus righties. We'll see if it does. Matt McLain is probably the best trade so far this year, at least. Because for me, he's gotten 12. Look at the difference for me and for them. The average is a little low, the on base percentage is a little bit, the slugging is high. He's just been hitting home runs, 12 home runs in less games, twice the home runs. He can steal bases too. That's another thing. He's got 30 stolen bases with me. He only had 2. So Cincinnati just didn't utilize him correctly, in my opinion. We do. He's someone I would love to bring back just because of his power. His void case could still go up just a little. If he can go up a little bit more, if he can get to that 45, he can have like a JJ Bleday effect, and the next year you could see him batting in the 260s, 270s, 280s, and that really increases his value because he's got legit power. It looks like he can do everything. And then Brett Harris, just solid play throughout the year. Not one of my best players, but just a solid player. Continues to put in the work every year and just hang around the roster. He struggled that first time I brought him up. Last year he did okay-ish, and this year he's doing better. He just keeps improving and staying in the lineups. And as long as he can contribute, I don't see why I can't keep him. Max Muncy, does as much hype as he's getting, he's just not hitting quite that well yet. I'm hoping that will eventually come because he's getting this ridiculous potential overall, but it's just not quite yet. He actually did a little better in last year's. This is only 1 month worth. I called up in September. He actually did a little better last year than he's doing this year as a whole. So we'll see if he can get hot toward the end of the year and really show me that this guy is an 80 potential. That's why I haven't signed him to a long-term deal yet, because I really want to see if he is in fact long-term deal worthy. Unlike Jacob Wilson, who clearly deserves it. That's pretty much it for this video. We're just gonna play it out and start looking forward to next year, which is what I'm really excited for. Is I think we're gonna be a much better team as we keep putting in the pieces to build up for a playoff chase next year. And finally, I think I saw the improvement this year that I'm really happy about all across the board. And it does show and reflect in the actual record. No longer are we one of the worst teams. We're kind of in the middle of the pack right now. And we keep improving. And we have another month to go in an off season. Hopefully we can keep improving. So that's it for this video. I'll see you at the end of the year.